you doing? Welcome to Soapbox Slam, where I get on my soapbox and I slam things that I see going on. And tonight I'm on my soapbox about, actually, not about Harlem, but I'm headed to New York City right now. And I am excited because I'm on my soapbox about dancing. So that's what we're going to talk about. And before I get into talking about dancing, I'm just going to explain that I think that it is really important for people to be able to express themselves with their body to music. I think that when we talk about good vibrations, right? I've been studying a lot about the body's frequency and vibrations, and high energy and low energy, positive energy being high energy, low energy being kind of negative energy, and the types of spirits and negative energy entities that attach to your mind, body, soul, spirit, and corrupt you. Some call that being possessed or whatever that may be. If you want to get into the religious aspect, it's a possession. But outside of the religious aspect, it's about your frequencies and where your energy lies. If you lie in low energy, then you're going to attract other low energy people, and that will attach to you, and you will kind of be stuck in the low energy rut. You will have anger, resentment, greed, these 7 deadly sins, right? Or you'll struggle to find. I'm driving to New York and I'm already yawning. You'll struggle to find a certain level of peace and happiness and joy because you're in this low vibration. And when you're in a low vibration, you're only going to attract other low vibration. It's amazing some of the stuff that I've seen and read and heard. Everyone knows about their chakras and their energies and things like that. And it's amazing that traumas from childhood can block a chakra and keep your energy in a state where you're constantly repeating the same cycles, karmic cycles, things like that, because of your childhood traumas, right? And you don't move it. Now, I know this sounds very hokey and talking about good vibes, bad vibes, energy and chakras and things like that can turn some people off, and people might not believe in that. But I believe in a combination of things. I don't think that life is all Abrahamic religion. I don't think life is all chakras and energy. I think that there's a melding of the two, and these things, that which makes up the world, right? I think it would be ignorant of me to say it's all energy or it's all religion, right? I think that all religions actually adapt these forms of harvesting this inner energy, and they aim to get you in the higher frequencies. And so I say all that because I'm talking about dance here, and that's what I'm on my soapbox about, dancing. And I'm headed to New York because Martin Luther King weekend. So when I lived in New York I lived in New York starting in 1998. And I moved there August of 1998 is when I moved to New York City. And when I got there, I stumbled upon two things that really cleansed my soul spoke to my heart and brought me onto a higher frequency. When I experienced and found these two things in New York City, they tended to make everything all right for me. I had troubles and issues and struggles when I lived in New York City, and I had good times and I had bad times and frustrations and happy moments, and it was a part of my life journey. And so I stumbled upon these two things. The first thing I stumbled upon was when I lived in Brooklyn. It was a church, and it was called the Brooklyn Tabernacle. Now, I will do another soapbox about churches and things like that. I'm eager to do one about churches. But the Brooklyn Tabernacle was basically a non-denominational church. They actually have a phenomenal award-winning choir. And I say award-winning, they've won several Grammys for their choir and the music that they have put out. And I absolutely adored and loved their music. And that's how I stumbled upon it. I would get off on my exit, and I lived right in downtown Brooklyn, Dumbo, that whole area right there. And there's a huge church called the Brooklyn Tabernacle right on the corner of Hoyt and Schermerhorn in downtown Brooklyn. And I would walk past that. That was my exit. I would walk past that. Actually, I said Dumbo. It's more like Borum Hill is where I was living. And I would walk past this church every night, and it's ironic because I would go to this church around 4 o'clock in the afternoon for their gospel session. Their gospel session was primarily just singing praise and worship. And my personal feelings about the church, it's not that my stepdad trained me to think this way. I come from on the black side of my family, I come from very, very, very religious roots. My biological family, my biological dad's family, strong connection to God. They are blessed people, and they have a very strong connection with their Lord, and they are protected and safe and upwardly mobile, sanctified people. And I don't mean that as a criticism or sarcasm. I mean it to my root. I admire their faith, and I'm sure if I had been raised with that side of the family, I would definitely have a different faith, and not a different faith, but a different devotion to faith, and I mean probably a totally different life. But again, that's another topic, right? So I'm talking about dancing. That's where I really want to get to, and I bring this up because I said that there were two places that I found when I lived in New York City that kind of reset and cleared and put me on a higher frequency. Like it just made me. I always felt like whenever I left the church and I left this dance club, and I say dance club, and I'm going to put that in quotes because I'm going to talk about the dance club in a second, which is the whole reason why I'm going back to New York City this Martin Luther King weekend. It's to do this ritual that I did when I lived there, that I would do every Sunday, and it brought so much peace and clarity, and in a time where there's so much turmoil and confusion and disruption in my life, especially like when I lived there, and I had disruption and confusion and anxiety and things like that. I would go to this, and I actually did this every Sunday. I mean, it was ritualistic and in nature, and very habitual. And so I'm going there this week and this weekend, Martin Luther King weekend, to reenact that ritual that I did when I used to live in New York City. So back to my story. On Sundays, back to the church, I'll talk about the church. There was this gospel session. It usually started at 4 o'clock and went from 4 to 6. and it was just sing praise and worship. Of course, there was a collection that you had to pay, whatever. But aside from the collection and that, it was pretty much 2 hours of gospel singing. And I mean, just praise and worship and just an overall wonderful feeling. When you at church, it doesn't matter what denomination you are or whatever else, when there's a collective energy, 10, 15, 20 people in a room, and I mean, this was kind of more of a mega church, so we're talking hundreds of people in the room, in the church, in the sanctuary, as they would say. And when you put that many people in one area, and they all are rejoicing, and they all are praising, and giving praise, there is a collective energy that occurs. It occurs in a positive sphere, in a positive realm. It occurs in a negative realm. In the negative realm, we call it wilding and gang activity, when a group of people get together and they all participate in something that may be violent, disruptive, or whatever else. And it's because within the group there's a collective energy that takes over, and everybody who is participating in that, or who's part of the collective, the energy takes over and it becomes a group kind of mentality, right? And that's when we talk about vibes and frequencies and a collective energy. This is kind of what happens when you start putting groups together, right? And so you have 300, 400, 500. I think the church was actually seated 800 people, close to 1,000, right there in New York City, downtown Brooklyn. And they're all rejoicing and giving praise. This collective energy takes over everybody, and the Holy Spirit, whatever you want to call it, it infiltrates the group, the collective group, and it becomes a huge positive force. And like I said, it doesn't matter what denomination or church you go to, which Abrahamic religion you believe in. None of that matters. When you take a group of people in a mosque and they're all praying, the collective energy of that whole group takes over the entire group, and that goes out into the universe. That energy is exerted out into the universe, right? So again, I'm going to get back to the dance, but so I would go to this church, Brooklyn Tabernacle, and I would go sometime between 4 and 6 o'clock and give my final rejoice for the day, and give my rejoice on a religious tip, on a religious sphere, right? But prior to that, back in the late 90s and early 2000s, there was a club at a location. The club was called Vinyl. It was a location down in Tribeca on Hudson and Hubert, and it was called Vinyl. And at Vinyl, they had what they call a tea party. It was located, like I said, in Manhattan, and the tea party is basically a dance party that would start at noon or 2 o'clock in the afternoon and go to about 8 p.m. at night. So it's not a nightclub in the sense that it opens at 9 o'clock at night and it goes until 4 in the morning. It's a tea party. So that's one concept of this collective, that of people coming together to listen to music and dance. And usually the music was spiritual, happy, positive music. What we originally called house music. Original house music, garage house music, and vocal house music. Which, ironically, that was in New York City. But when I lived in Chicago, I was introduced to house music. Chicago is considered one of the homes of house music, the pioneers of pioneering cities of house music, and I grew up with it, right? I mean, from freestyle, which is a form of house music, to true house music. It originated and was, I don't want to say originated, it was codified in Chicago. and Chicago became a staple. I mean, you could hear house music on our radio stations in Chicago, something that you would not hear in other cities in the United States. And so this Club Vinyl, their Sunday night party was called Body and Soul. And like I said, the type of music was house music, and it's classic old garage vocal house music, very spiritual. There were a lot of religious songs that were incorporated into dance music. When I say incorporated dance music, what makes music necessarily a dance music is the beats per second, right? How many beats per second in a song, or how many beats per minute in a song, BPMs, beats per minute in a song, that they say there's a threshold where X amount of beats is going to make them, is going to want to make the human body dance, right? So the main music synthesizer, or not synthesizer, but mixer, was typically what they called an 808, which is basically a music mixer that had a certain rhythm and bass and sound to it. So most house music, particularly played in these venues like this particular venue, Body and Soul, on Sundays between 12 in the afternoon until 8 p.m. at night. This music was music that made people dance. Something else that was very unique about this tea party in Body and Soul was that they didn't sell alcohol. You could get beverages, Gatorade, soft drinks, or whatever else, but they didn't sell alcohol. Whether they didn't have a liquor license or they opted not to sell alcohol, that was not the purpose of the event, the dance, right? And it was every Sunday. The purpose wasn't to be drunk and dancing or doing drugs and dancing, and the type of people who attended this type of this venue and this party weren't the type of people who would do drugs and drink and bring that low vibration to this high vibration event. And also unique to this event is it was all types of people. And when I say all types of people, I mean you would see white people, black people, old people, young people. I mean, the collection of people, there was no, I mean, when I say young people, we're talking, young, 18, 19-year-olds, whatever else, with older people, women, men, gay people, straight people. It was a collection of everybody. And everybody's there and everybody's dancing. There's an expression, you sprinkle powder on the dance floor, right? When you have a wooden floor, right, a dance floor, and you sprinkle powder on that, and then you dance, you actually glide and slide and move. Your whole body just moves a whole lot different because you don't have the same hard traction on the dance floor. So that, you'll hear it in house music, and you'll hear real people, I don't say real people, but you'll hear old people talk about sprinkle powder on the dance floor. It's baby powder. Sprinkle baby powder on the dance floor, right? And you dance, you slide on the dance floor, you glide on the dance floor. It's so much easier, right? You don't get the traction from rubber sole shoes. You just slide so much easier. Sprinkle powder on the dance floor. And it was this type of event. A lot of house music has a disco element, and of course there was this whole rejection of disco in American history in the 70s. But what they did with house music is they took some of that disco beat and those disco songs, they sped them up, they mixed them and interlooped them and overlapped them with other songs, creating a totally different kind of song that you recognize and can dance to. And so this is what I would do pretty much ritually when I lived in New York City for years. It was my Sunday practice, right? Like, this is how I gave praise, and this is how I always kept myself to a high vibration, because I would dance so much that when I would leave there, not only were my clothes drenched in sweat, but I felt light. I felt lighter, like the weight of the world was completely gone. I was lifted, right? A lot of people will say when you exercise really hard and everything else, you release a whole bunch of endorphins and you'll get that same light, euphoric kind of feeling. And I would get that every time whenever I would go. And then I would cap it off whenever I would leave Body and Soul from dancing. I would end the night by stopping at the gospel church and listen to the gospel music and kind of cap off my praise, right? So first I gave praise and worship with my body, and you know, released all this tension and released all of this frustration and anxiety through dance and exhausted my body that way. And then I kind of cleansed and brought the Holy Spirit back into my body by going to this gospel church, the Brooklyn Tabernacle, and giving praise and worship at the church. And that's how I spent my Sundays, I mean, religiously. And so I'm going this weekend to New York City. I'm driving to New York City to give myself a reset and remind myself and get back to my roots of who I am, what's in my soul, right? And kind of redo, like, you know, just really do that. So this soapbox is about me and dancing. And so I talked about those two elements that I found when I was in New York City that helped me remain on a higher vibration and keep my happiness and keep my sanity, right? I am on the soapbox and I challenge you. I said this to my family. I'm biracial. I have half of my family is white, half of my family is black. And there are members in my white family who will dance, and then there are members in my white family who will not dance. And on my black side of the family, every time I've gone around them, they dance all the time. And so I don't have to worry about them. But when I die, I don't want some sad funeral. I don't want people weeping and crying and you know, feeling anxiety or regret or anger about my life or anything like that. When I die, if you want to celebrate me, you would celebrate me by dancing. And so I've made very clear to people close to me that my funeral isn't a funeral, my celebration of life. There's not going to be a casket. I'm not going to have an open casket and people can view my dead body. This is not a criticism of people who believe in that. I just don't particularly want that for me. What I want is the people who love me, even if you cannot dance and you are a member of my family, what I want for you to do to celebrate my life is I want you to come to a party, an event that's how my funeral, the money to be spent. I want a DJ hired, I want a venue rented, and I want house music played. And it doesn't have to be just house music, because I'm willing to say any kind of music that would make everybody get up and dance, at least to one song. Enjoy some food and dance. That's how you can celebrate my life when I die. That's how I want you to celebrate my life. Dance. Because I believe in my heart of hearts, if you let yourself go and you dance, you'll reach a higher connection. And I really mean, like, dance for, even if it is just one song, if you really just let yourself go and dance for one song, I know in my heart, I know it, like, nobody can tell me different. You will feel a different connection to everything in the world. I know it. I know it. It's a conviction that I feel so wholeheartedly that I don't think anybody convinced me differently, could convince me differently. And so my death, to to celebrate my death, right? Celebrate my life when I die. You can celebrate my death. I'm sure there's people who hate me. I mean, I'm not perfect, and I guess I've done things to people that are so wretchedly horrible that they would celebrate my death. But for those who know what's in my heart and know that all my intentions are pure, and who know me, those who know me would know that I don't mean harm to anybody, and my celebration of life and my gift and my death, my gift to people would be for them to dance. I don't want a procession and people wallowing and crying. I want them to hear their favorite song and move their body. And I remember I told my uncle this, and he was like, well, I don't dance. And I said, well, then don't come to my funeral. Do not come to my funeral. Do not come to my celebration of life and sit on the wall. No, don't come. You're not celebrating my life. You're not celebrating me. You're not honoring my wishes. So don't come. Just don't come. Like, I'm serious, and I mean that to this day. If I have any family member on my white side or black side of my family that would come to my funeral and not dance, I'm telling you now, do not come. Because if you do, I will haunt you. I promise you, I will haunt you. I will be the haunted ghost that haunts you for life until you die, because you did not honor my life and my funeral. I will haunt you. I swear to God, I will haunt you. I swear on everything that is good and righteous, I will haunt you. So don't come if you're not going to dance. But if you think that you could take 10 minutes out of your time and let yourself go and truly dance for me, you would be celebrating and honoring me in my life, and it would be a gift to me, but in my heart I know it's a gift to you. I mean that from the bottom of my soul. That's how important I think dance is, and expressing yourself through body movement. It is. It doesn't matter how you look. It absolutely does not matter. I am more in love with the person who doesn't know a dance move and doesn't care how they look, but gets out there and moves their body any and every which way to the music. They may look silly as heck and whatever the case may be in some sort of judgmental way, but not to me. Because what I see when I see a person who by standards can't dance but moves their body and lets go, I see a pure heart. I see a pure heart. It's one of the things I love about little kids, when they hear music and they're bopping their little bodies around. It's such a blessing in my mind. I see that and I think how pure, how absolutely pure. And if I could give that, if my death can give that to the people I love, something pure for a moment in time, where they're able to just let their body go to the rhythm of the music, whatever kind of music, my kind of music. I don't care if it's your kind of music. I don't even care if I have to play a slow song and you take your wife and you slow dance with your wife. I don't care. Take your wife, slow dance with her, look her in the eyes, and dance around the house or dance around the dance floor at my funeral, my celebration of life. I've always made it a point with the people I've loved in my life to take a moment when I've been so happy with them, whether they were cooking dinner or whatever else. I would just grab them and twirl around the house with them, even if it's just for a few minutes, because to me that was a pure moment that means way more to me than I think it means to a lot of people. But I think that's the trick in life, and that's the gift in my death that I would like to give to those who would attend my funeral. So dancing's important. Let yourself go and move your body. Move your body, jack your body, whatever. Anyways, be safe. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Like I said, I'm going to go do my ritual because I need something pure again, and I know what to do, and I'm gonna go find it. And so I'm headed to New York, and I'm going to Body and Soul, and I'm going to the Brooklyn Tabernacle. I'm doing my Sunday ritual to celebrate, and I'm doing it on Martin Luther King weekend. Like, how fabulous is that, right? Like, that's phenomenally fabulous, right? Because Martin Luther King was a prophet, whether you understand that or not. That man was a prophet. Yeah, he was a man who had sins of the flesh, but he also had a message from God, and he was a prophet. He was one of God's messengers. Yeah. And to celebrate with him in celebration of who he is and his prophecies and his dream, and then to go to Body and Soul, and then to go to Brooklyn Tabernacle all on the same weekend. Yeah, I think the spirits are lining right up for me. Anyways, have a phenomenal evening. Have a great week, and Happy New Year to everybody. 2024 is for a better year, right? So this is to kick off my better year. I love you people. You people be kind, be good, and let's do it.